Welcome back, so this is part 3 of my Twitch emote tutorial. Today we're going to get into the last phases of designing an emote, which is coloring and polishing. If you missed the previous parts of this tutorial, the links are in the video description. In the previous video we talked about setup and exporting tips and understanding the size limitations. In this section we already have a clean line art that we are happy with and we're ready to add the color. So firstly I suggest adding 2 separate layers, one for your line art and a second one underneath for the color. I suggest blocking colors, which means just filling the whole drawing with color and fill any gaps and empty spots. This will make sure that you don't have any transparent spot in the end. Here's a trick to make your shadow color interesting. It's common for illustrators to choose a warmer hue of color for your shadow and a colder one for the bright area. For example, I'm picking a color from the skin, which is a beige, a tone of light orange or yellow. And to find a good shadow tone, I'm dragging the hue color wheel down a notch. I even add a bit of saturation to catch a reddish version of my previous color. Experiment like this to find interesting tones for your shadow color. You can apply the same principle for choosing the color for your outline. It's totally fine to use a black outline as opposed to a colored outline. It all comes down to design choice and your own style. A black outline tends to immediately make your emote appear very crisp in the chat. It pops. While a colored outline tends to give a softer result. So if you or your client prefers softer style or design, you may want to try using colored outlines. The darker the color of your outline is, the more crisp is the result. The lighter it is, the softer the design appears. If your emote has very bright colors such as blonde hair and pale skin, you may want to use a slightly lighter and softer outline color rather than a very dark or black outline. But again, that still depends on your own style. If all of your design have a black outline and it's your trademark, that's okay too. In the end, we all have our own style. To color your line art, I suggest that you click on the lock pixel icon above your layers if you're using Photoshop. This lets you easily color or even paint bucket your line work without changing the shape of your line. If your design is a bit zoomed out, such as showing shoulders and arms like in this example, you should simplify the amount of details and lines in the design. For example, in this case I'm not adding any fancy detail or even reflection in the eyes of the characters so that the eyes appear clear from far away. At the polishing phase, I like merging my line and color layers together. I make sure to keep a version of the original 2 layers too. You can duplicate your layers by hitting the Alt key and then holding the left key to drag your layer up or down. Once you're ready to merge your line and color layers together, highlight them both by holding Ctrl and clicking on them, and finally hit Ctrl E to merge them into one layer. Finally, make sure to duplicate that new layer so that you always can come back to the previous version even if you don't like the new changes. I duplicate my progress like this many times during the polishing phase so that I can safely come back to my previous progresses. By that point, if I'm pretty satisfied with my design, I'm trying to see if I can improve the clarity of the emote on the small size. I feel like it needs a bit more clarity, so I'm deciding to shrink the size of her body a little bit to create more space for zooming in on the design. By sacrificing a bit of clarity on the body, I was able to improve the clarity of the face, which is the emphasis of the expression. Try to upsize your emote so that it touches the edges. Sometimes it's even worth it if the outline goes even a bit beyond the frame in order to reach the wanted level of clarity. As shown in my previous video, I suggest having a canvas in the background where you can drop your emotes anytime you do a change in the final stages and compare it with the previous emote attempt. This is a good way to decide on the final touches and comparing the changes next to each other. If your design is complex and is still too blurry no matter what you do, keep zooming in and making your design appear bigger in the frame, even if it means cutting off some parts of the hair. As a result, you may have to distort your initial design by making some parts smaller or tucking them in like we did with shrinking the body in this example, as long as you reach an acceptable clarity in the end in the chat resolution. On my last stream, I decided to get back on this design and try something different. I tried this little purple hoodie on her because I like changing her clothes once in a while and make my emotes a little bit different, and I thought this turned out pretty cute. So that's it for this tutorial today. I hope it helped you a little bit and that you liked it. And if you did, please consider dropping a like and subscribing because I'll be posting on YouTube every single week from now on. If you want to check out my Twitch channel, the link is in the video description. Thanks for watching.